Amazing Stories opened for business in July 1993 in a 400 square foot bay that was underground. It was very tiny, very small. I'm surprised anybody could find us. But we had lots of people in right away. We were across from the University of Saskatchewan. It was the result of myself being a lifelong comic book fan. It was something I'd always wanted to do, and when I got my first office job, I realized that was something I didn't want to do. So I planned on opening a comic book store. We looked around for quite a while, probably half a year to find a spot, and that was where we started. And when we opened up, there was very little to comics other than comic books, very little merchandise, there were no graphic novels. And now, 21 years later, it's a very different business, but I still love comic books. So there you go. I've been a comic book fan since as long as I can remember, since I was a little kid. The magazine is Jodi's idea. She came to us with the idea, and I thought it was a fantastic idea to support local arts.
Punch magazine it packs a punch, but it is a punch. It's a blend of all kinds of different things from pop culture, so manga and comics and movies and a little bit of everything.
It's blossomed. We're on our third issue now, and it's doing very well. And I can't believe the talent that's in the city. It's remarkable.
They're a fantastic magazine to really just display the artists of Saskatoon and stuff like that, and show what the city is capable of. And, you know, say, hey, this is an art form, especially comic book art. It's really looked down upon as just pop culture, you know, but it is an art form in a huge way. So I really do want to emphasize that with my work as well. Pretty much how I started was fan art. Fan art is just, if you love a movie and you're a fan of it, you make art inspired by said movie, character, book, what have you. And it is just, you take that concept and you recreate it in your own way.
I try to write primarily about comic books, but I tend to branch out into other things beyond that. I find all pop culture kind of blends together at this point. Writing about comic books at this point is writing about culture in general, the way it's permeated film and TV and the internet, every conceivable media outlet at this point. It really, when you're writing about comic books, you're writing about everything now.
It's been overwhelming. Every single time I ask for submissions, I am completely blown away by the amount of talent that I get. And the contributions are getting better and better. One of our mandates was that it was reflective of what the community is and what Saskatoon is as a comics and pop culture kind of world. So I didn't want it just to be professional artists, we have been getting more and more top quality, like professional work, but I also wanted to show like those artists that are just emerging, who are starting out, and as we've gone through, we've had a couple people submit to more than one issue, and you can see the development of their work. So there's work from kids who are inexperienced and just starting out, and then there's very, very polished work coming in as well. It's also great to see the camaraderie that happens, like when we do the launch parties and things, and the younger ones getting tips from the more experienced ones, and it's heartwarming. It's great. There's no snobbery. Everyone really is just out to help their fellow artists or their fellow writers. They all want to talk comics or whatever. So we all are nerds at heart, and we just want to like share the love. So we all have passion for what we do, and we just want to see everyone do well. I see this as a jumping off point, not only for artists and for writers to be able to put it in their portfolio, whether it's looking for work or getting commissions, but also for the people behind the scenes who do layouts and design, that now they can show this to prospective employers and say, hey, you should hire me. Here's an example of my work. And then it's a jumping off point for a lot of different people, and that's what I want it to be.
Tell us about a day in the life of a store manager or a storekeeper in Amazing Stories, and what all goes on here throughout the day.
It is actually awesome.
Yeah.
I never have a day where I wake up and don't want to go to work because it's really fun. And there's lots of work to do because, it's a library essentially. So you've got to keep on top of your stock, make sure that we have all the essential books that people want to read and get all the new stuff and take care of all of our subscribers. So there's lots of stock and kind of piddly stuff to do. But the bulk of it is just people coming in. It's a hub. It's a community base for, a lot of different cultural groups, whether it's comics or manga or anime or anything kind of pop culture related. This is the safe zone where lots of people feel they can come and they're going to find common ground with somebody here. So, we have lots of fun and conversations with people and make recommendations and, just meet people and turn them on to new stuff.
A local comic book store held its grand opening today in Saskatoon. Amazing Stories has moved locations within the city to a much bigger space. Its owners say the store's expansion is needed to keep pace with the growing success. Some of the comic book industry's top artists made a showing at the event to autograph work for their fans. The store is also showcasing a brand new locally produced magazine, Punch, that features Saskatchewan artists. The magazine's editor says comic book culture is growing in our province.
The comic conventions that have been going on around North America have especially had an impact because people love to dress up in costume. They like to go to these big events, and the stigma of it's only for nerds kind of thing is gone now.
More women are discovering comics. The self-publishing industry is growing. Creators are getting greater exposure, and the role of Amazing Stories in the future will be to facilitate those connections.
There's probably going to be quite a few things that happen. I think online comic sales are going to continue to grow, and retailers are going to have to be aware of that. And I think a lot of future customers are going to come from online customers. They're going to come into comic book stores and discover comics in print. I think merchandise is a big thing in the future. More and more comic stores are going to have to get into the merchandise for comic books, especially with Hollywood and TV becoming more and more popular. It's the barriers for entry to comic books for creation are coming down. It's very easy to make a comic book now and get published online. So I think as stores are going to have to be aware of there's going to be more and more different genres and more variety of comics available for people. And that's one of the big things too, is the variety of comics, especially genres, is getting crazy. It's no more just a superhero market. There's comics for literally any and every type of genre now, which I think is great because it gets more selection. It gets more women into the stores, which comic stores have ignored women for a long time, and I think women are a very key demographic for comic stores. That's about it. I think merchandise is the big one, online, and expanding the customer base, especially through women. That would be your thing.